Well, good morning. Happy Friday. It's August 14th. I'm glad to be here and I'm glad to share with you all today. We've got some great questions. So, welcome to the Akashic Salon. I'm Betsy Grady. I am an Akashic Records consultant. I've been doing this as my sole profession um, for, I forget how many years now, 12, 12, something like that. Anyway, and every day I get to do a session, it's still such a joy and an honor. I feel very lucky to have this lifetime getting to do what I do. And I absolutely love our Friday gathering and answering questions and just sharing this wonderful world with you. So let's see here. Hi, you guys signing up. Oh, that's great. Um, I'm going to go ahead and read the Akashic Prayer. While I read the prayer, if you feel called to, close your eyes, let yourself relax. Notice if a question comes across your mind. You don't have to ask it out loud or on the show or anything like that, but your guides will hear it and they may use somebody else to answer it. So remember, this is a collective here. Everybody who joins, who participates, who finds this, your guides are bringing you here. And I just think that's a wonderful thing to think about, that there is real purpose in this gathering. Oh, guess who's coming? Come on. Yeah, she's talking today. Let's get her turned around here. Okay. This is Poppy, for those of you that have not met Poppy yet. You want to see her little face? She's so pretty. Who's so pretty? She is an Akashic Records fan. Okay, let's read the prayer here. I ask God if He will have His shield of love and truth around you permanently, so only God's love and truth will exist between you and me. I allow the masters, teachers, and loved ones of you to channel through me out of whatever realm to say whatever they wish. I ask the permission of the Lords of the Akashic Records, so I'm able to look into the records of you and remove whatever information I'm allowed. Okay. Okay. The guides are acknowledging that August, out of all months of this year, has felt entirely different, and we are only halfway through. And they are saying it's like going through the month of August feels like we're going through a bit of a time warp somewhat. Like things have sped up this month and things are happening really, really fast. There's a lot of people with that sense that I can't keep up, I can't hold on, too much is just going on. And the guide said that's on purpose. And for one, this is a really big month, with just where all the planets are, hanging out, what's going on with eclipse, the Lionsgate portal, all of this stuff. And we talked a little bit about that last week. But the guide said, when things get going kind of, they pick up speed or things are happening one right after another or multiple things at once. They said that's your invitation to kind of step back and just allow. And like this is a good month to just surrender and trust that the universe has got this, your guides have got this, just like they orchestrated all of us being together here, whether in this actual moment live or even later, they have created this, they've orchestrated this gathering and bringing everyone here who needs to be here. And they said it's the same thing that they do all the time. And so when things get a little busy and we feel like we're kind of losing control, they said that's a good thing and to go with it and to let go of control. A lot of people waste a lot of time trying to control outcomes. And that can lead one to be very frustrated and anxious. And so sometimes things pick up speed just to force us to surrender. Like, I just have to trust in the process. And that's one thing they would like for you to take through this weekend, through next week, and really till the end of the month. Trust in the process. Trust in the process. Trust in that flow. Look for how life is supporting you. See the green lights, see the red lights, and even the yellow lights, meaning really pay attention. Do you need to slow down? Do you need to just enjoy this ride and keep on going, or do you need to take a stop for a moment? And traffic lights are actually quite an effective way that the guides use to communicate with us. Have you ever had those days where you're driving and you hit every red light, and you have to stop when that happens, no pun intended there, and ask yourself, what do I need to stop and see here? What do I need to um, pause for? What am I being delayed by these red lights, and what does that mean for me, and how do I make the best use of this time? So the guides are always going to encourage self-awareness, and they want you to look at what's going on in your life and see how you can reflect it back to yourself. What do I need to see here about me, my life, how I'm journeying, how I'm moving? What are the guides telling me would be really helpful right now? But the big thing they said for the next couple of weeks, just get through August, so to speak. And they're not saying just get through, they're just saying let it ride and let go of control and, find that surrender and trust that your guides have got you covered. Because, they really are guides, they guide us. I had somebody yesterday or last week I talked to, and I had told her a little story. I had a woman couldn't decide whether she wanted to buy a house one time, and she was driving over to look at this house. Now this is down in Gulf Shores in the beach area, so she was going to look at a beach house, and she said to herself, I'm going to drive and see this house one more time, and if I see, I think she said a penguin or something like that on the way, then I'll know the house is meant for me. And so she was driving up over this bridge and came up behind a truck that had a huge cartoon penguin painted on the side of it. And she laughed, knowing, okay, her guides were reassuring her. So I was telling this client last week that story. And she told me yesterday, she sent me a little message and said she decided to ask for a panda. She wanted to see a panda if things are going to be okay with what's going on in her family. And now her guides had already told her things are going to work out in your favor, but it's still fun to ask for that reassurance and that guidance along the way and just to know you're supported. And it was really funny because her daughter came home from school and the book she brought home with her was about pandas. And I'm like, gosh, isn't that lovely how it works? So I really hope all of you are trusting in the process, really, okay, she's coming back, really reaching for your guides, asking for the guidance, or maybe even just reassurance. And it's fun. It's fun to feel alive and playful and seen and heard, by something we can't see with the naked eye. But that world is very open to you. So think about maybe this weekend what you want to see for reassurance. And just have a little fun with this. And then let your guides do the work. That's what they want to do anyway. That's so cool. Okay. And I will get to you guys here with questions. Let me go through the ones I have that were sent in. Well, okay. I've got 6 that were sent in, so we're going to do this first, and then we will jump live here for you guys. I am asking for guidance in how to lovingly support my daughter for her highest and best as she is struggling financially, emotionally, and maybe mentally. Thank you. Okay. Wow, just coming off of that message from the guides, and how do we surrender and, let go of control. And I'm just going to add to that based on your question, let go of the need to fix or solve or um, provide a remedy or solution to someone, because really what a person is going through is often about their journey, their soul contract, what their soul wants to experience. And I'm not saying you can't help people by any means, because that is a part of why we're here, is to share that love, share that help. Yet at the same time, you have to be discerning, because sometimes when we help people, I refer to it as we can rob them of the opportunity to see what they're made of. So if a person figures their way out of a struggle, out of a situation, they're going to feel extremely confident and powerful, and they're going to know they've got what it takes. And so, oftentimes that's really important. And some people, their journey, because we don't really know what another soul is working this lifetime or wanting to experience this lifetime. And their journey could be one of defeat or struggle, could be one of all the above of what your daughter might be experiencing. And so, to answer your question, your guides are saying they would they would just pray for her, honestly. And if you are in a position that you can help in some way, whether it's a kind word or a book that has uplifted you that you might want to share, um, things like that within your means, if you feel called to do that and that feels right to do, then do that. Yet, yeah, there's just saying practice discernment and know what you can and cannot do, and don't stretch yourself or compromise yourself to help someone like that, because that saying, put your air mask on first before you put it on the child. You really do have to take care of yourself first, because if you don't, you're going to not be able to help anybody. So always, and it may sound selfish, to keep yourself a priority, but your guides really want you to do that, because there's a whole big, wide, unseen world at work helping everybody. And often we forget that your daughter has guides too, and they're trying to get through to her, and they're trying to orchestrate, maneuver on her behalf so that she has the experiences she wants. And often we forget that there's a whole different team out there working and helping. So praying is a powerful thing to do. And those benevolent prayers, that you could say for her, you might say a benevolent prayer that she begins to see the guidance that's all around her, or that she finds the confidence and courage within her to, rise up to her next highest and best version of self. You could say prayers like that. And I am hearing that would be very beneficial. I always say, I used to say, I just pray for somebody's evolution when, I see somebody who might be very judgmental or stuck in that victim pattern or something like that. I just pray for somebody's evolution, that they find their way to that, to that next rung on the ladder, so to speak, of as they climb up in who they're meant to be. So, okay. Oh, and By the way, I wanted to, this is not a question, but it was something. Do y'all remember a couple weeks ago somebody had asked about, do we need to stockpile stuff, um, or bulk up on our supplies, kind of thing? And the guides had said yes, it would be wise to do, but not to go out in a mad dash or panic. Well, she had a wonderful MBO that she came up with that I want to share with you. And it's, I request the most benevolent outcome of always having available an adequate supply of food, water, and necessities. Thank you. And I just thought, that's fantastic. I might put that one in my book too. But I wanted to share that with you guys today for any of you that were concerned about that also. Okay. Next question. When the hybrid aliens amongst us start to show themselves, will we notice their auras? Are they different than ours? I love that question. That's so fun. Let me see what the guides will show. Look at Poppy. So the guide said yes, they will project very different auras. They will be in colors that are not known to our naked eye. We will be able to see them in our mind's eye. And they will also have patterns in them, almost like sacred geometry. It's really interesting because I'm also seeing like shimmering iridescent effects too. Now, there are multiple, let's just say, alien nations, and each one could come with, their own respective aura. So you might see a variation of those things. And for those of you that are still practicing or wanting to see auras, remember, you can see them with your naked eye. Some people do. And I would say most people are going to see them with their, third eye, that intuitive mind. I know that's where I see them. And Ted Andrews, if y'all are familiar with him, he's old school metaphysical writer. His most famous book is probably Animal Speak. But he wrote a book, How to See and Read the Auras. It's just this tiny little book. And it's really excellent. It's got some great exercises in there. And I highly encourage you to get that old book if that's something you want to practice. And one thing he said you could do is go outside at probably at dusk or, getting more into the evening hours. And if you look at the tops of trees, you can see, and this you can see with your naked eye, you can see the white band going along atop the trees. And trees really do have the greatest auras of anything on the planet. So they're very easy to see. And it's kind of wild once you start seeing that white band. It will expand over some trees. In some areas it's bigger, some areas it's smaller. But it's hard not to see it once you see it. But that is a good way to practice. But he's got things like that in the book that I would say check out. Okay. Next question. We are in a huge period of flux and instability with our living situation and finances. We don't have a home and are bouncing between places very frequently, a mix of Airbnbs, house sittings, etc. We feel worried about our 2-year-old daughter's heart and her little being through all this movement and instability. She keeps asking when we are going home, and we don't have an answer. Are we negatively impacting her? How can we best support her through this transition? Okay. So a couple of things your guides want to say. And they would have you talk to your daughter. Sounds like she's very bright and very aware for 2 years old. And tell her that you're like a family of turtles right now. And turtles, they carry their home wherever they go. They have that shell. and they are safe and protected. They can always retreat within, but they do have their homes wherever they go. And if you could have her think like that for right now, you know, I love that you said you're worried about her heart. And then there's that phrase that home is where the heart is. And that's something else you can reinforce to her. And I really feel that's on purpose too, because that's going to instill a belief in her that she's safe wherever she goes and that home really is in the heart, always with her, you know, and with her mom and dad, so to speak. And that's a powerful thing to sow a seed of, I would say, in her little subconscious mind, because you know what we put into our child's minds, the experiences they're having now really do become their belief system, and how they, you know, they live from this belief system as an adult. And that's a really lovely thing to teach her. So I'm not hearing you are hurting her heart. If anything, I would say you're reinforcing it. And by presenting it to her in that way, I think she's going to feel a little bit better. Um, and y'all are having a bit of a nomadic life right now, there's no doubt. And you're having lots of adventures, lots of experiences. And I'm hearing it's not always going to be that way. And that you will find that place to settle for a while. And I would say you could tell your daughter you're picking a favorite yard that all the turtles want to hang out in, you know, for a while. You're going to be there for a while. Hang on here. The other thing I'm hearing to tell you or to remind you is that children are very aware of the circumstances they're coming into. They know that what they're entering into is going to shape them, you know, for their lives here and what their soul wants to experience. So that's a part of it. The fact that she came in while y'all are in this situation is all part of that divine design for her. And so trust in that process too, that this is meant to be for right now. Now, the one thing that the guides would ask you to be mindful about is your own fears and your own worries and not projecting them. And so your daughter's actually a blessing right now because she can help you stay in the magic of this journey. And as you teach her to look at this, you know, in a different way as turtles, it allows you to do the same. And so you start to find a little bit more of the magic in the experience you're having. If you feel stuck or fearful, you know, that's going to perpetuate, and it's going to keep lingering and just grow bigger even. But when you start looking at the magic of your journey and this nomadic lifestyle, you know, it's fantastic. It's so non-traditional, and you're breaking the norms, and it's like, kind of be excited about that, be proud of that, because somehow or another you're making it work, and there's a lot of love there. And this is just temporary. It's temporary, so it's not always going to be like this. So if you could focus a little bit more on the extraordinary journey that you're having, and that it is different and it's meant to be different, and you can find appreciation for it, it will start to change into more and more of what you want, so that you can get to that house with the yard that the turtles can all feel safe in and stretch out in, if that makes sense. And I'm hearing by shifting that mindset to a little bit more of a magical, and it's not magical thinking, not fantastical thinking, but just really looking at the dynamic of your story right now and how different it is, and the stories you can tell and share with people. You can accelerate the path that you're on to get to that yard quicker, if that makes sense. I would like to say before the end of the year, I would say it's a strong possibility, but I'm going to go into most likely spring and summer of next year. Like there's a little bit more journeying to do. I was seeing if there was any place they would show me that you're going next or what you could do. I'm not seeing that right now, but hopefully that's helpful, at least with your daughter right now. Okay. All right. Next question. Has the father of my oldest child told anyone that he has a son? I am hearing no. And I'm looking like, could it be even one person, a close friend or confidant, a therapist or something? I'm hearing no. Okay. One more question here. I've had massive inner transformation since February. There are mysterious pink splotches all over my chest. I recently had a biopsy, but the dermatologist can only tell me what I don't have. He doesn't have answers except that he thinks it's an allergic reaction. Let's see. My friends and I think it may be my body's reaction to all this inner change. What do my guides say? Okay. I am hearing, give me a second here. So I'm hearing it's anxiety for some reason. And I don't know if it's about all the inner transformation. I don't get that you are an anxious person, but something about this transformation looks like it's leading to some underlying feelings of anxiety. And it might be if you're used to going and being and doing and creating, and this inner transformation is saying, hey, back up a little bit, let's slow down. um, Imagine life is just floating down a lazy river. That may be uncomfortable for you because it's so could be foreign to what you're used to. So I'm not sure the nature of the transformation, but I am hearing anxiety. But I'm also hearing to really look at the area it's in, the chest area. And when we have issues here, it could be, and especially the splotches here, pink always represents anxiety. I mean, I know the pink represents the heart and love too, but in this case, with a body, when we look at body colors as it relates to the body, pink is going to represent sensitivity, anxiety, nervousness, things like that. And the fact that it's on your chest, the chest is the area we think of, we are bearing all, we're getting things off our chest. We are living authentically, we're sharing more, we're being really vulnerable. And this transformation could have really taken you into a very vulnerable place. So I would say these are after effects of the transformation, and it just hasn't quite finished processing. And actually, I'm hearing that the process that you've been going through, this inner transformation, could take up to a year. So you might really not see real relief in that area until after the new year. So it does sound like really big work that you've been up to. But I am hearing vulnerability, exposure, like time to really let people see who you really are, if that makes sense. Not what you do or how you do it, It's more, who are you? And it feels like that is really coming to the surface. And, a lot of us find our identity by what we do, how we serve, what we create, what we make, how we help. But, those are just things we do. It's not really who we are. Um, and I would say there's transformation is leading you more into living from who you are, not what you do. Does that make sense? And I think we could all take a cue from that. So thank you for asking that. Let me see. I want to make sure I don't have any. Okay. Good. All right. So let's see. You guys online today? Let's see here. Okay. I'm just going through. Okay. Here's a question. My daughter had an episode where she collapsed in her hotel room by going stiff and falling straight back. Ooh, this was eerily similar to how my son died. I'm very concerned. What do you see she needs? Wow. Hmm. I don't feel like your daughter has the same thing. However, I would say there's a subconscious belief in her mind that she might, or is the same thing going to happen to me? And it feels very mysterious. So, uh, I know I talk about emotion code a lot, body code, belief code a lot, and we have someone on today that actually practices it. But you can do work where, like, your daughter might could do a session and see, did she absorb that belief from her brother, or did she absorb that fear or worry from you that it might happen to her too? And that could be something that could clear it. And if your daughter wouldn't be interested in doing a session, you could ask if the facilitator um, will muscle test to see if you could be a surrogate and do the healing, through you, to see if anything was absorbed there that got transferred that's really not your daughter's. So I would say look into that. And then let me see if there's any. Let me read this again now. Hmm. The other thing I'm hearing, I'm not sure if your daughter takes a particular medicine or feels like something she takes that she might not be should be taking. Like that's an adverse reaction, I would say, that caused that, but I don't know what that is. And honestly, it could be something as simple as Advil over a leaf kind of thing, that I would say her body doesn't need, that she might thinks she needs. But I would look a little closer at if she took anything around then. Could even be a couple days before. Um, if she flew somewhere, did she take something for flying? I'm not sure, but I would check that out too. Um, Let me see if there's any. The other thing that I'm hearing, it would be really helpful for her to get, I would say, a lymphatic drainage massage. For some reason, that looks like that would be helpful. I do not feel she will suffer the same fate as your son, and I'm sorry to hear about that. It's really difficult to lose a child. Mm. And I don't know if you found out what it was, for your son, what happened there, but I just don't feel that's your daughter's story. So, at least not right now, I'm not picking that up at all. So, hopefully, just a couple things like that will help. Okay. Hi, guys. All right. Can I ask if I can trust my college? I'm going to say college friend or roommate. Her name is Agnes. She is doing things behind the back of my colleague. I'm sorry, back of my supervisor, and I feel she'll be exposed. I never engage with her, but I feel she brings chaos. Okay. Let's see. Well, I think you're aware of her vibration and looks healthy for you to focus on your vibration so that you stay high and aligned and clear and authentic, and that way you just don't even line up with her. Her fate is her fate, and there may be a contract between her and the supervisor that's being played out this lifetime. So I'm not hearing it's anything for you to solve or fix or get involved into any more than what you've already witnessed. Um, unless it becomes a detriment, I would say, to the whole company. I mean, there are whistleblowers for a reason, because they really care about a company and a team and the integrity that they're working within. So, will you come to a place where you have to, you know, um, see if it's in your, wheelhouse to be a whistleblower, or if it's actually needed? Or I'm hearing right now, let this play out between them, whatever's going on. I don't feel like she'll stick around long enough, so either she'll get fired or she'll quit or something. um, and really try and keep your focus on your work. Can you have fun at work? Do you love what you do? That kind of stuff. And really see if you can access that joy and bring that joy to work, because it's almost, I would say, joy is going to be immune to that chaos. But again, I would say you're right not to trust her or really even, I would say, want to be around her much. So, some people they're addicted to drama. They just are. They grow up with it, they live it, and they create it. It's the only energy they know to feel alive. And she could be one of those persons. So, yeah, I would stay clear. Looks like you're being really wise with that. Okay, let's see. All right, what are things we can do to help us be able to talk to our spirit guides? Okay, your spirit guides are around 24/7. They are always listening, and it really is like having a conversation. Y'all have to tell you a story. And my publisher's on here too, and she just said, I've recently done some emotion code work, and it's amazing. Highly recommend. Really is. But what's funny, I was driving home from Birmingham last week, and I was just talking to my guides. And so I said, okay, guides, give me some kind of sign today or evidence today of my book, of the energy around it, what it's going to be like. Now, and I already have a good feel for it, but it's still fun to ask and see what happens. And so when I got home that evening, uh, I had texted my publisher because we were supposed to have a conversation and it just didn't work out that day. But I just shared with her the days I was available. And she wrote me back and said, oh, I finished formatting, the first pass of your book, and it's 222 pages. And for those of you that know me, 222 is my number. And it's been my number for many, many years. And it's also a strong connection with my dad. And when he passed, as I was driving to, he was in the hospital. It was his last day. They had taken him off life support. And, I knew he wasn't going to be able to make it on life support until I got there. But he was hanging in there, hanging in there, hanging in there. My sisters called and said, we think he's waiting for you. Anyway, long story short, I was telling my dad, go on and go. You can't wait this long, because I still had several hours to go. And next thing I know, I get a text that my dad passed at 2:22 in the afternoon. Like, he totally punctuated that, knowing that's my number. He saw it. My whole family just loves it. So when she sent that text, I was like, oh, wow, guides, how cool is that? So you can do that too. It is really that simple. Ask for signs. I didn't ask for a specific sign like a panda or a penguin, that my clients did, but you can do that. Um, you can ask your guides to make things really obvious so that you can't miss them. If you're driving somewhere and you're wondering, should I be going, should I not be going, ask them to show you in the traffic lights. Am I meant to go, to wherever I'm going? And you might get all green lights, you might get all red lights. Um, but they really communicate with you, I would say metaphorically, a lot of times, kind of like the splotches on the chest. It's like, what do you have to bear, on your chest? What do you have to get off your chest? That's metaphorically speaking. And that, I'm just saying, that's the language of the universe. And that's how your guides communicate. They are playful. Sometimes they're very direct, like the 222 for me. But most of the time, I would say they're really clever and playful. And I would just start talking to them. Just start talking to them. Just ask them random questions. Um, we had one time, what was it? Somebody asked for a blue marble to find that their guide was around. And can I tell you, she found one in the dirt in her garden and under some cracked pot. And I cannot tell you how many people started finding blue marbles because she put that story out there. And I was getting pictures all the time from blue marbles from random people. So the guides have a lot of fun. Y'all might start seeing 222 now because we're talking about it, or you might see a panda or a penguin because we've talked about it. Anything that's fresh in your mind, the guides are going to use. If you are thinking about something, they hear your thoughts. Like we talked about last week, my client met her neighbor's dog named Scooby, and in her mind she was thinking Scooby-Doo, but didn't say anything. But later on the beach, she overheard two guys talking about Scooby-Doo. And that was her guide saying, yes, we heard you. So they do hear your thoughts. They hear everything. So I would say have fun with this. And you can share some stories next time we're online together. Okay. My daughter-in-law used your guidance for her kitty before he passed. She recommended you to me. My dog is not well. Star has an intervertebral disc degeneration. Okay, is Star hurting? All right, let's see here. Oh, don't you hate to see the animals suffer? Let me see Star here. Well, I'm hearing, I want to say mildly suffering, mild discomfort. It is going to progressively get worse. And I do feel like Star will be vocal about it. I do think you're going to have to come to that time where you might have to, make that decision to let Star leave the body. But I also think it's going to be obvious that Star is going to make that very clear to you so that you'll know you're making the right decision. And I have to tell you, sometimes animals really do want you to make that decision because they want to be with you. They want to be held in that send out kind of thing, and it's peaceful for them. There's no pain. As a matter of fact, I mean, animals they're really incredible. They're often out of their bodies before everything's administered, and they're watching it, happen. So it's always a difficult decision, but I do think Star is going to make it obvious, and that you will trust in that decision. Oh. Okay. All right, you guys. So, my Flint Hills Publishing is my awesome publishing house. I'm very excited to be with them. Let's see. Is it time? Let's see here for Star. I'm not going back to that. My husband hasn't been able to get a full-time position in his field since December, even though he works on it every day. And I was wondering if the guides have any advice for him and a timeline. If you're still on here, can you tell me what is your husband's uh, sun sign or rising sign? I don't know if you know that the both of them, but I tell you, a lot of things are happening for people according to the major planetary shifts um, that we've had this year. One of my clients is a Leo, which is late July, early August. And I have been telling him, just hang in there, hang in there. That door is going to blow open and things are going to really start getting busy for you. And he's been asking this probably for about a year. But everything I told him was going to kick in this summer. And we just spoke yesterday, and he got this huge, huge, huge contract. Probably one of the biggest deals he's ever had. And it really is the beginning of a good run for him. So sometimes it really is in that timing. Gemini. Well, so this is a time for Gemini. So this is a time for Gemini to be seen, to be rewarded, to be promoted, to everything come together. Now, that didn't really start until I would say May. And is it off to a slow start? Sometimes it takes a little while for the wheel to get really going. But knowing he's a Gemini, I wouldn't even worry about it. They are being so supported right now with Uranus and Gemini for the next 7 years. It's really putting a spotlight on them being seen. And then we've got Leo and Jupiter for roughly 18 months. That just started too, and that's also benefiting Gemini. So I would tell him to just have that blind faith and to keep sending things out there. I feel like someone he's already spoken to, someone where his resume landed, and that could have been, let me see. Might be, I want to say earlier this year. I feel like somebody's going to come back around for him. That's maybe he's already spoken to, they've already looked at his resume. I feel like something's going to come back around. And I look too to see if he's meant to go in a different direction entirely, like start his own business or apply for a different position or different way in which he can work, so to speak. But I'm not getting that either. I'm hearing to tell him to hold steady, hold faith, keep just throwing things out there. But I do feel like somebody's coming back around. And the fact that you could tell me he's Gemini, I'm like, they're in a good spot right now. This is a really good time for them. And my husband's a Gemini, so I've been watching. And it's been fun to watch. But we're just getting started. So, all right, let's see here. All right, we have a conditional offer on our home. The fires here in BC have been awful. Oh, I know. Just wondering if our sale will go through. Well, for some reason, I still feel like it'll go through. I still feel like it'll go through. I'm looking to see if it is the offer that you have now or something else coming along right behind it. I would tell you this, if that one does fall through, it really does feel like there's one right behind it that will go. I don't think you're going to have a lot of trouble seeing this property go to new stewards, so to speak. Yeah, because I really feel like that's going to happen swiftly. I know the fires have really been tremendous. But I hear that the people really want that space. They want that property. And they still have visions for it. So to me, it feels like it's still on track. Or does everybody feel good for today? I could, let me see if I can get my little cards here. We'll just draw a card. Let's see. You know what? We're going to draw a card for the rest of August and then just one for fun. Okay, so the card for the rest of August. Huh? Wow, how about this? Divine signs. Are you paying attention to the signs? The universe is always showing us the way. Ask for a sign that you're on the right track. Really? Don't you think they've been listening to us the whole time? Is that not so funny? Now notice there's a feather. They like to leave feathers too. And so do our loved ones in spirit. But watch everybody get a feather today. All right, so this one is just for fun. Okay, that's great too. Shine. Okay, that's great too. Shine your light. Do not dim your light. Embrace every part of you, no matter what others may say. Be brave and have the courage to be different. Be you. That is, get everything off your chest you need to get off your chest and live in your authentic self. Shine your light. I'm telling you, these are awesome today. So if y'all are here live next week, it'll be fun to see what kind of signs you get, any stories you want to share. And I will also. All right, you guys, be bright, shine your light, look for the signs, talk to your guides. I mean, you can talk to them silently in your mind, they're hearing. And just have fun with this. Trust in this process. You know, surrender to that guidance that's all around you. Know that you are being guided and supported. And I will see you next Friday. Okay? Thanks, you guys. I know the cards are great. Really punctuates our talk today. So y'all have fun. I'll see you next week. Bye.